Okay, here we go. A lot of people want to know, yeah, when can I use deadly force? Or when can I use a gun to protect myself? So let's go and cover this. So state defines bodily harm as bodily harm means physical pain or injury, illness, or any impairment of physical condition. So if someone had a baseball bat, let's say it was one of those miniature baseball bats and it was a 5-year-old, I could say a 5-year-old with a miniature baseball bat can do you bodily harm. As long as you weren't on the ground, then they might give you a little bit more harm, maybe substantial bodily harm, but the capabilities of a 4-year-old, 5-year-old with a mini bat, can't kill you and can't give you great bodily harm. So bodily harm or substantial bodily harm. Let's use that as an example. Okay, substantial bodily harm means bodily injury which involves a temporary but substantial disfigurement, or which causes a temporary but substantial loss of impairment or function of any bodily member or organ, or which causes a fracture of any body member. So hence the example, 5-year-old mini baseball bat can hit you, let's say if you were tied up, right? Can hit you so many times, can, break your skull, fracture your skull, break your arm. That's substantial bodily harm. If they were to just hit you and hurt you, give you bruises, that is bodily harm. Okay, moving on. Great bodily harm. Great bodily harm means bodily injury which creates a high probability of death, or which causes serious permanent disfigurement, or which causes permanent or protracted loss of impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ, or other serious bodily harm. Let's say you turn that into a full-size baseball bat. Instead of a 5-year-old, it's an 18-year-old. Depending on the size of the 18-year-old, assuming that they're not impaired themselves, meaning not under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Let's say they had a birth defect, right? They're a small person or someone with weak physical characteristics where they couldn't swing the bat. Yes, they probably couldn't give you great bodily harm, but if it's an 18-year-old male, 160 pounds, with a baseball bat, if they came up behind you, they can cause you great bodily harm with one swing of that bat to the back of your head. So, let's just think about different scenarios, different situations when you're actually fearful of your life. And the key is really fearful of your life with realistic expectations of that person or persons inflicting great bodily harm. Now, the law states justifiable taking of a life. The intentional taking of a life of another is not authorized by section 60906 except when necessary in resisting or preventing an offense which the actor reasonably believes exposes the actor or another, your family member, to great bodily harm or death, or preventing the commission of a felony in the actor's place of abode, where you live. Okay, so let's just state that reasonable, right? It has to be a reasonable case of great bodily harm to you, a family member, an occupant in your home. Does not have to be a blood relative, right? If they're in your home or if they're outside of your home. Now, I had a student in the class ask me essentially, well, let's say I witness a robbery going on in a gas station. I can go in there because they're committing a felony, they have a gun, and I could try to, break it up, do this or that. I think the point is, the thing to keep in mind, 3 things are going to happen. 3 things you can expect when pulling and discharging your gun to eliminate a threat. A, you're going to go to jail. B, you're going to spend a lot of money. And C, if it wasn't worth it or you think you could have gotten yourself out of the situation, it's going to be one of those times in your life where you wished you would have done something differently. So, keep in mind, you have to think that there's going to be great bodily harm. And it has to be reasonable, right? You're going to go up against a jury potentially. So your peers have to think it's reasonable. If it's a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 10 or 12-year-old with a mini wooden bat, I don't know, I wouldn't want to be on that jury, and I definitely wouldn't want to be getting prosecuted. So reasonable. And in the case that I pointed out about the guy witnessing a robbery with the firearm in a gas station, think about this. You go in there with guns, your gun drawn. Who's the suspect? Whether or not they intended to fire, what are they going to do now? They're going to be forced to fire, right? So you're going to go into a firefight. Innocent civilians can be hurt. You could be hurt or killed. Just bad things are going to happen. You're much more valuable to call the police in that case than you are, in my opinion, going in and trying to alleviate or resolve the situation. Now, if you're in that gas station and the door is, between you and the bad guy, I mean, me personally, I draw my gun and I try to get out of there. If I can't get out of there and I get caught in the middle, well, that's when, all the training that I've done, all the muscle memory that I've done kind of takes over and I handle the situation. But when it comes to fight or flight, I will always go flight. Always go flight. When necessary. If I can't escape great bodily harm, then, I'm here to win and stay and stick around with my family. And that's why I teach this course, and that's why I took this course. So, but fight or flight, I flight when I can. If I can at all costs, then it's going to go to a fight, and a fight that I'm going to win. Okay, psychological and physiological effects of a violent threat encounter. Cognitive, sensory, and physical reactions. It's going to be quick, it's going to be intense, your body is going to need to take over like it knows how to take over, and that's just through training. Anything you think you're going to do that you have to think about is more than likely not going to happen. Anything you do based on your reaction, and that's just the way you were trained, that will take over. It will take over. Okay. I'll let you read through justifiable taking of a life. Okay, a couple frequently asked questions. Where can I apply for a permit to carry? Once this is done, you've taken the shooting qualifier at the range, I will give you your permit or get you your permit. You take that to your county sheriff. So if I live in Hennepin County, I would go to the Hennepin County Sheriffs. They do that at one location that I'm aware of, and that's in Minneapolis. Where can I apply for a permit to carry if I'm not a U.S. citizen, but I have a permanent resident status in the United States? Yes, you can get a permit. You need to provide it with the sheriff. On the I-151 card, I have no idea what that is. If you have more questions on that, get to me. I'll get you the answer if you can't locate it online. Permit to carry application is online at the BCA website. Can a non-resident mail in a permit? No. All applications must be submitted in person. Hennepin County, even if you are a resident, you have to submit it in person. You have to be 21 years of age. You have to complete the application. You must not be prohibited from possessing a firearm. You can't be a gang in the gang investigation system. No gangbangers, sorry. Must be a resident of the county from which you're requesting a permit. If you reside in Minnesota, non-residents may apply to any Minnesota county sheriffs. Must provide certificate of completed authorized firearms training. That's what you're doing now. When is a carry permit not required? Okay. Minnesota Statute 624-714, sub 9. Keep or carry about a person's place of business, your house, land, by the person. Okay, and that also includes a boat, by the way. To carry a pistol between the person's dwelling house and the place of business. So if you're going from your house to your business, you don't need a permit. However, I would recommend you do get a permit, because let's say you have to go by the bank in between home and work. Well, you're not in between home and work anymore. You are now in between home and somewhere else. In the woods or fields upon water of the state for purpose of hunting or target shooting in a safe area. In a motor vehicle, snowmobile, or boat if the pistol is unloaded, contained in a closed and fastened case, gun box, or securely tied package. Doesn't have to be locked, but has to be closed. Approved firearms training, I don't think you're going to need that. That's what this is for. You can go on the BCA website and see there are, I would say, probably 400 instructors that teach this. Some are active, some are non-active. As an instructor, it's a 5-year permit. So from 2000, my permit now is good. I renewed in 13, so it'll be good until 18. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 2017. So all the instructors' permits are good for 5 years. So they are an active list on the BCA. I don't know if they take them down immediately, but all those should be active. Okay. Non-residents must take an approved firearms training class in Minnesota in order to get a Minnesota permit to carry. No. You are only required to present evidence that you have received training in the safe use of a pistol from an organization. You don't have to take it by a Minnesota licensed instructor. Military, you need to have training. The permit to carry fees is determined by the sheriffs, not to exceed $100. Thank you, Hennepin County. You are not exceeding $100, but you are at the maximum. So yes, Hennepin County is $100. Permits within 30 days. I received mine in 2 weeks. Permit's valid for 5 years. Can you get an emergency permit to carry? Yes, you can. Specific situations, immediate risks. So if you got a restraining order against a spouse, boyfriend, significant other, coworker, if you've received a restraining order, yes, you can. Any applicant who does not meet the criteria will actually get an explanation. Predatory offenders are prohibited from carrying. What that is, I don't know. I suppose if you've got some violent crime, obviously that would be one example of, but I don't know the whole scale of what a predatory offender is or is not. You will find out if you are rejected. The Minnesota permits are valid throughout the state of Minnesota. Some other states have the reciprocity clause. It's up to you to determine the states. They change yearly. The laws of the other states will change yearly, so go ahead and look those up prior to doing your traveling. If you have some consistent travel, I do offer other permit to carries. I offer Arizona and Florida, soon Utah. If you need Utah, just go ahead and ask me. Obviously, this is recorded. At some point in time, I am going to get my Utah. Do you need to have your permit when carrying your pistol? Yes. Just put it underneath your ID. It is state law and federal law that anyone over the age of 18 has to have an ID. Therefore, you should have a wallet. If you have a wallet, man purse. If you're a woman, have a purse. Anything you need to. It's a law to carry an ID. So just put your permit to carry with your ID. Do I have to disclose to a peace officer that I'm carrying a firearm? Yes, upon request. Let's say you get pulled over and the officer says license and registration. At that point, you do not have to tell them you have a permit to carry, even if you're carrying. If they ask you, then you do. When you move, notify the sheriff's office. You'll get a permit and address change. If not, it's a petty misdemeanor. If you are asked by a police officer, going back to that last question, if you're a permit holder and you lie and you say no and they find out you are and you're carrying, you will get a petty misdemeanor. A couple of those and you get your license taken away. But just be very honest and upfront and you'll have no problems. I intend to give permit holders to law-abiding citizens. Obviously, I don't know that. That's not my job. That's the sheriff's job to figure out who you are and if you're eligible for a permit. And obviously, I don't want to give permits to non-law-abiding citizens, but like I said, that's not my job. So your new driver's license needs to match. So just like you have 30 days to renew your driver's license with your new address when you move, same thing with the permit, just knock them down, 2 for 1, go to the DMV. My recommendation, immediately go to the sheriff's office and handle both in the same day. What if my permit card is lost or destroyed? They're laminated, so if that's destroyed and it's with your ID, your Minnesota State ID is destroyed too, and you have to get those handled.